For many of us, summer is a time to get outside, to enjoy the sunshine, and perhaps explore somewhere new. But the season we know is changing.
Look at my legs, girls.
That is how white I am, and that is how brown I've got in 3 days.
Coming up as parts of Europe swelter beneath an unusual weather pattern known as an omega block, we explain why days of beautiful sunshine can sometimes become dangerously hot.
It's very slow moving, and it means there's kind of no wind, no breeze for respite.
And as extreme heat becomes more common, could the climate crisis also be changing where we choose to spend our holidays?
Can you imagine traveling all the way to Paris? You get to the Eiffel Tower and you can't go in. They can't afford to lose those tourists because their tourism economies will suffer.
We think that environmental and sustainability consciousness has doubled over the last 5 years.
Plus, meet the man who's proving that one person really can make a difference.
I'm trying to organize cleanup. Every day I clean at least 1 bag of garbage.
Just 2 degrees is on. Now,
in big cities, if you are from there, you can join this cleanup.
I have seen what tomorrow will be, and it will be like today. The sun may shine and there may be some clouds, and later on it may rain.
just beyond the bustle, one of the world's biggest cities, lies a very different side of Istanbul. Here along the Black Sea coast, forests give way to long stretches of sand where the sound of traffic is replaced by crashing waves and seagulls. This is Akçakese Beach in the Şile region, a beautiful reminder that sometimes the best way to connect with nature is simply to step outside. Well, it's true, a little sunshine can lift our spirits, but too much of it and without the right protection can quickly become dangerous. And as millions of people across Europe have been discovering, sometimes the most dangerous weather doesn't look dangerous at all. At first glance, it looks like perfect weather. Blue skies, bright sunshine, and barely a cloud in sight. But sometimes those beautiful conditions are actually a warning.
I'm about to show you something. I look very tanned here. Look at my legs, girls.
That is how white I am, and that is how brown I've got in 3 days.
Scientists call it an omega block, named after the Greek letter omega, because that's the shape it creates high above us in the atmosphere. A large area of high pressure becomes trapped between 2 areas of low pressure, creating a weather pattern that barely budges.
And it means that it's drawing warm air up from North Africa, from the Sahara, and that's why we have this really intense heat.
Normally, the jet stream acts like a conveyor belt, pushing weather systems from west to east. But during an omega block, that belt bends and stalls, leaving the same weather sitting over one place for days.
And it means there's kind of no wind, no breeze for respite, and it just kind of sits there and produces heat underneath, or brings the hot air underneath it.
With little movement in the atmosphere, skies stay clear, clouds struggle to form, and heat just keeps building. What starts as a sunny day can quickly become a dangerous heat wave.
Well, normally in this compartment the preferable temperature is 20-21 degrees. Today it's between 30-32. And we see it, the sows, they're not comfortable. They're breathing very often, the breathing frequency is higher, and that's because pigs can't sweat.
Omega blocks can last anywhere from 3 to 10 days, although some can linger for weeks, before the jet stream shifts, enough to break them apart. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Days of relentless, high temperatures, putting intense pressure on people, wildlife, crops, water supplies, transport networks, and energy systems. And because nights stay unusually warm, our bodies get little chance to cool down and recover.
Est-ce que vous savez s'il y a d'ores et déjà eu malheureusement des victimes à Paris?
Oui, il y en a. Évidemment, la mortalité est en hausse, mais ce n'est pas à moi de communiquer là-dessus, c'est aux autorités sanitaires de le faire. On a à peu près tous les indicateurs qui sont en situation difficile.
So was the Omega block over Europe in June caused by the climate crisis? The answer is not directly. Scientists are still studying whether a warming world is changing how often these blocking patterns develop, but there's much stronger evidence that the extra carbon and methane we pump into the atmosphere are making their impacts even greater.
És meg kell szoknunk azt, hogy egyre melegebb lesz, mint eddig. Ez a déli országokban volt jellemző, egyre följebb húzódik ez az irdatlan meleg nyaranta. Hát nagyon más nem tudunk csinálni, mint megszokni, mert nem ülhetünk egész nap a légkondis szobába, főleg úgy, hogy...
For many people, summer is about escaping the everyday. But as heat waves become more frequent and intensify, the search for sunshine is beginning to change. More travelers are taking extreme weather into account when choosing where to go, which raises an interesting question. Could countries once considered too cool for a summer holiday soon become some of the season's most desirable destinations? Many people choose a summer destination based on a few things: sunshine, the party scene, the food, the beaches, etc. But now that summers are changing, Anita, in terms of the temperature, are people expanding their vacation options?
It's been interesting to see, Reagan, how the heat waves, particularly in summer, which are now becoming patterns, they're not exceptional acts, are starting to influence exactly as we've been seeing and we've talked about in the past, where people are choosing to travel. So the concept of coolcations has very much now become part of the vocabulary, where Scandinavian destinations are becoming very popular. We've already seen this year a surge of between like 27 and 33% searches, whether it's for Finland or it's for Sweden, Estonia. A lot of these countries are looking at going to promote themselves as an option that is cooler, there's more space, there's more freedom of movement, there's less tourists. The challenge, though, Reagan, is that the destinations people are leaving are tourism economies, and they actually can't afford for tourists to suddenly start leaving and going somewhere else. So if you think of destinations like London, Paris, Madrid, Berlin, the real core destinations in Europe that people go to as a first choice, they can't afford to lose those tourists because their tourism economies will suffer, which means unemployment, lack of revenues, lack of investment. And so the question is, how do we expand destination choices without it costing traditional destinations? And that's where tourism destinations need to look at strategies to get people traveling out of the heat times, not just out of the cities themselves.
Places like Spain, Italy, Greece have long been summer favorites. I'm actually heading to Peru in July, like I told you earlier this year, which is the country's coldest month. I wonder if as heat waves become more common across the globe, countries experiencing much cooler conditions could become a more attractive option in the long term, particularly for people who book their holidays months in advance.
Indeed. And I think an important part about people booking so far in advance, people don't only invest their time and their money into a holiday, you going to Peru and all the anticipation, it's an investment of emotion. So when that holiday is taken away, and if we look at it as a small example, but which was a huge issue last week with the heat waves, Paris as an example, now one of the top destinations in the world during summer, and people dream of going to Paris. Long time awaited, wanted to go. Temperatures are suddenly 10, 15 degrees higher than they normally are. But the challenge there, even if people can cope with the destinations being hotter and drinking more water, eating more ice cream, the attractions are shutting down. So the Eiffel Tower, for instance, shut down during the heat wave. On an average day in June, you get about 25 to 35,000 tourists to the Eiffel Tower. 8 to 12,000 people were turned away. Can you imagine traveling all the way to Paris? You've waited for this holiday. You get to the Eiffel Tower and you can't go in. London, similarly, they had to actually cancel the changing of the guard in Windsor and at Buckingham Palace because it was too hot for, quite honestly, people to go out in traditional dress. So 8 to 12,000 people waiting to see the changing of the guard couldn't see it. So that disappointment factor is added on over and above the discomfort factor. So that's why, again, it's about saying, how do we expand destinations to go into the shoulder seasons? How do we get people to come earlier in May and June rather than in July, August? How do we get them to come in September? A lot of it depends on school holidays, naturally. But how do we expand those travel times? And that's where equally these coolcation destinations, how do we allow people to go when it gets very cold as well? So for every destination in the world, they have to look at it from the point of view of how do we have a year-round destination? So when the ski slopes have no snow, how do you utilize those during warmer months? So it's really about managing 12 months of the year and bringing Mother Nature on board as a stakeholder, because she's critical now, clearly, in determining where the travelers travel.
And as more people look for more holiday destinations, how do we make sure tourism benefits those places without putting extra pressure on nature or the local communities?
When we look at sustainable tourism, a lot depends on how we define sustainability, because it's not only sustainability environmentally, it's economic sustainability. So a lot of that is saying, how do we continue to have tourism grow outside of the traditional tourism seasons? So again, how do we stretch it through the year? A big factor that's been hitting the UK when it comes to developing tourism and sustainable tourism has been turning back to domestic tourism, very much looking at how do we utilize traveling around our own country. And interestingly, Reagan, this has been caused by two things. A, the heat waves. People are deciding to go further north. Let's go to Scotland. Let's go to Northern Ireland, for instance. But also the EES system, the entry and exit system that the European Union put in place this year, was supposed to be fully operational in April. It has had serious issues in terms of operational efficiencies at airports, with people waiting between 3 and 6 hours. And that's where a lot of people in the UK are saying, we're staying in the UK because not only do we want to make sure that we're actually supporting our country, we don't want to start and end our holiday by spending all that time in immigration lines. So if it's not the heat wave outside, it's the temperature boiling in mood, with people literally missing their flights because of the operating systems at EES. So that's where it's been interesting to see how choices of travel have been influenced not only by Mother Nature, but by government systems that are simply not working as efficiently as needed at this point in time. So people are saying, we're going to look at sustainable options to be able to be environmentally friendly, keep the local economies going, and in many ways, go back to that COVID thinking. When people couldn't fly outside of their countries, how could they stay within their borders and still get a chance to have a holiday? So it's been interesting to see this summer how the entire model has been shifting for reasons, again, environmentally, but also operationally.
As the way we travel evolves, so too do the questions we're asking before we book a holiday. A new UK study suggests that more travelers are looking beyond the sunshine and sightseeing, with growing numbers considering what impact their visit will actually have on the destination they choose. The findings reflect a broader shift towards more responsible travel, as holidaymakers increasingly seek locations that align not only with their interests, but also with their values. When Brits think of sustainability, what exactly are they looking for in a destination?
Well, they tell us that what they're looking for is somewhere that they'll feel good about visiting. So somewhere that looks after the local population, somewhere that when they'll be spending their money, it will be going into the hands of hoteliers, staff on the ground, rather than vanishing into a multinational corporation. They're looking for somewhere that produces food, water, etc. sustainably, where the tourism industry itself isn't responsible for depredation on the ground. So if you look at places where you've had protests about this sort of thing, the Canary Islands will be the classic example. There's a number of people who live in the Canary Islands who say that the impact of tourism there has caused a shortage of water for local residents. So I think when British holidaymakers are looking for somewhere sustainable, they'd be looking for solutions to that sort of problem, or a destination where that isn't the case on the ground, and where holiday making and tourism is being carried out sustainably in that sense.
I think that's understandable. The way the world is turning these days, there's political and social unrest in many places. Clearly, you don't want to go on an expensive trip and have it disrupted. I wonder if Brits care enough, though, about sustainability to not consider a popular fantastic hotel or destination?
Well, we've been running the Good Trips Index for 5 years. We started this in 2022 when we started asking UK holidaymakers, how much of an issue is it for you that the destination you go to is sustainable? How much do you care that you have a sustainable holiday? Back in 2022, 16% of our respondents said, yeah, it's very important. We would make a decision on that basis. We run this survey every year. In January of this year, that had gone up to nearly 30%. So we think that environmental and sustainability consciousness has doubled over the last 5 years. And obviously that's a consequence of the general state of the world. People see more impact of climate change on their holidays and on their own lives. But also it's because people are becoming more responsible in the choices they make. They want to be able to go somewhere where they're having a positive rather than a negative impact, which is reasonable from both a philosophical and philanthropic point of view, but also purely selfishly. You don't want to go somewhere and destroy it. And even if you didn't care morally, therefore, if you like a place, you kind of want to look after it when you're going there on holiday.
That's a really good point, because I find that travelers are generally quite wasteful on vacation. For example, choosing an all-inclusive hotel and plating a lot more food that they can eat during the free meals, which I assume the hotel may either toss or repackage for charity. Are there signs, though, that tourist attitudes are changing?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, the research we've done tells us that people are making conscious choices to go to sustainable destinations and to avoid trips that will cause these problems. There's lots of ways that people can do this. You can take not so many short haul flights. A lot of the environmental impact of your trip is the takeoff and the landing of the plane. So if you're going to go on holiday and you go for a longer time, if you're going a long way, stay there for a while, enjoy your 2-3 weeks, see a few places and then come back rather than pop over and back every time. Listen to the locals. If people are saying this is a place which is experiencing a negative impact from tourism, it's perfectly possible for people to to take that seriously. And we've seen that in a lot of places. We've seen anti-tourist protests in places like Barcelona.
Tourists go home!
I think that it's very clear that a lot of the people who live in Barcelona are feeling crowded out by short-term holiday lets there. And I think we've definitely seen UK travellers acknowledge that and take the choice to look elsewhere, or or to choose different accommodations. So no, people are taking this seriously. Holidaymakers want to have a positive impact. They want to be a good guest, and if you're a good guest, you want to go somewhere you'll feel welcome and somewhere where people are happy to see you.
And what about the destination itself, like hotels? Do you find they take sustainability seriously, or are they just using the word to attract tourists?
I mean, I think there's two things going on here, isn't there? You can certainly see that some hotels and some hotel chains are using it completely disingenuously. They'll say, we are being responsible, we're not going to wash your towels more than you want us to. And A, that makes it sound good, and B, it means they can save themselves a bit of water and a bit of power. Yes, it in some cases, it's clearly just for the look of the thing. But we work with a lot of hotels who are genuinely committed to sustainable practices, and you can see that in their actions and in the way they run themselves. There's a Marriott hotel at Heathrow Airport that Holiday Extras works with, where they run solar power off the roof. They've got their own garden where they make they grow quite a lot of the food that's served in the restaurant on site. The chef there is absolutely committed to producing sustainable food with relatively limited food mileage. So you can see it in the intention and the outcome. If a hotel and a hotel chain is committed to sustainability, they'll do real and obvious things about it. If there's a sign up in the bathroom and no consequence to the sign, yeah, it's just performative. We all know when it's just performative. You can see it, can't you?
Meanwhile, it's easy to remember your sunglasses and headwear before heading outside, but there's one small thing many of us still forget. It's time for just to matter where the little things mean everything. Today, sunscreen. It may seem like a small bottle, but choosing the right one and using it properly can make a big difference for both your health and the planet. Before I leave you, here's the story of one man's travels as he tries to complete a 12,000-kilometer journey from Malta to India.
Welcome to the day number 95 of our 12,000 kilometer climate awareness walk from Malta to India. Right now I'm here near the Italian-Slovenian border. Yesterday I slept here.
Jaydip, this is not your first walk. You traveled across India for 182 days in the past. You saw many people, you saw different walks of life, different ways of life. Did anything surprise you on that journey when it comes to how the climate crisis affects people?
So, when I was traveling India from north part to south part, that was not for climate change. You can say like that. That was for me. That I want to explore my real and rural India because I know the Taj Mahal, I know the Himalayas, but there are lots of villages. I don't know about them, how they live, how they survive in their houses, and so many things. So that journey changed me because I met thousands of people. They have like different philosophy other than me because grew up in a different place. And that journey changed me totally because when I was starting that journey, I have like 27, 28 kilos backpack with me. I want fresh wash, I want everything perfect. And when I came back from that journey, I have just 8 or 9 kg with me. you know that journey totally changed me. That journey changed my dreams and everything. So yeah, as a person right now I'm taking a climate awareness mission because of the journey, because that journey changed me a lot.
And your current walk began in Malta, where you were doing your postgraduate degree, I understand, in hospitality and tourism. Why did you, though, decide to take on such a huge mission?
Okay, so yeah, first of all, so yes, I was studying hospitality management and tourism in Malta. Then from Malta, I get opportunity to go to the Greece to learn about climate change and meet so many people. And then that till that point, I don't know much about climate change. I just know, yeah, there is a one word called global warming. There is one word called climate change, but not in much details. Then I discussed with so many people, students, and then I realized that the climate change is now the biggest threat. And I used to work with some NGOs, but not fully involved climate-related NGOs, environment-related NGOs, but I don't have that much information. Then, after 26 days spending in Greece, I realized that I want to do something about this because I am young. I can do something, and right now the right time, because climate change is not going to happen. It's happening now, right? And then I decided what is my biggest strength. So my biggest strength is I can walk a lot because I was a certified trekking instructor in the Himalayas and I have experience of walking you know so this is my biggest strength and what I can do. And there is one very famous person from my place. I'm from middle part of Gujarat. It is one state called Gujarat. And Mahatma Gandhi, most probably everybody know about him, right? So he is like he was living 200 kilometers from my city, and I used to go and in his ashram. So he used to walk a lot for the revolution. His idea is like, if I can walk, I can connect with so many people you know so I just took it idea that I want to walk, and I will talk about climate change. I will pick up garbage every day, and I will pass one message that one simple ordinary person, if take decision, he can do, or he or she can do something for our earth.
Jaydip, it was really nice meeting you. Best of luck in your walk. And that's our show. Until next time, bye.